Did you reset that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to. I was supposed to go to. My original intention was to go to Xfinity to drop off. I have another. I have one like a router, like an extra one, and they've been bugging me about forever for like a year. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done getting these fucking messages. I'm going to bring it in. And I go to the Xfinity store. I fucking left it at home. But as I was going out, I wanted to get more e-juice for my vape. And I went to this vape store. I shit you not. I go inside. This guy, I mean, we must have hit some sort of like parallel universe. You know how they say that we've like transitioned over. That's why there's like the Mandela effect and stuff like that. This guy had I walk in, he has a fucking canary on his shoulder.
I love this guy.
Kicking it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
wow, big dick energy.
he's sitting down, right? And he stands up to look for the brand, and I'm like, is the bird's gonna fly away? No. He gets up, looks around, bends over, and then the fucking bird's just... I'm like, what is fucking happening right now? Like, I don't understand what's going on.
That guy's awesome.
He was just kicking it. And the crazy thing is, he wasn't doing, like, bird things. The bird was just looking at me like...
I thought you meant the guy doing bird things.
No. The canary was just staring at me like...
Probably want to put a nest in your beard.
Yeah, it's like...
or make a nest out of your beard.
It's just fucking insane. I was like... I've only seen this on TV played by pirates. And this fucking guy... Obviously a pirate has a parrot. I don't think... He's like, that's too mainstream. I don't do a canary. I think it's a canary or a parakeet.
I think a canary is cooler.
I mean, I guess I'm not going to look up what a fucking canary looks like. If
you had a cardinal, it'd be really pumped.
It looks like a cardinal. Has that, like, kind of faux hawk thing going on with, like, the...
Parakeet.
Is it parakeet? Yeah. Anyway, but I want to talk something about retail that we were talking about the other day. I have a problem, and I understand that people have... there's some things you don't need to buy all the time, right? A couch, sometimes a computer. And then what happens is when you go out to buy one 6 years later, 10 years later, things like inflation or just new things come out where you're like, you think you should be paying a certain amount of money and you want to like try to cheap out, all right? But you also want the benefits of paying for something good, but spending little money. And I don't know if it's because I work retail that I understand in a way that, listen, you kind of get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. I understand back then when there were like 3 computers to pick from. And each one had similar things. You were essentially just paying for the name, kind of thing. That's what a lot of people think. They're like, oh, yeah, well, this is more expensive because of the name. Well, there's a reason why it has a name, and it's a reason why it's a catchy name. It's probably because it's a good item. I'm trying to be very sensitive and not call people cheap, but people need to have, I think, a little bit more of they need to be more aware of certain things, and that essentially, if you go and take the cheap route, don't complain when it doesn't work out your way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's certain things that you can find that you're paying for a brand name and things like that. I don't know, maybe look up some consumer reports and do a little bit of research before you go out there and buying things. Because ultimately, like, I assume when I'm talking to a salesman at a store that they're going to tell me this product's great and everything. I guess ultimately it only helps you out, maybe more informed. I can relate to being... It's frustrating when someone's looking for, like, they tell you this, they want this, this, and this, but they don't want to pay that. Unfortunately, to get like all the bells and whistles, you got to pay the extra money, which some people understand. Like, oh well, I can't pay that. Other people are, you generally speaking, usually they start bitching at you and things like that, and it's hard not to feel attacked and annoyed sometimes by it.
Well, it's like the annoying part is when they're like, "Well, this product's not good." After like they take it home and they're like, "Yeah, well, yeah." I mean, I could have told you that. I was trying to tell you that, but I didn't want to hurt your feelings. But you know, like when you cheap out on certain things, like don't expect it to be like fucking great. And like, okay, so I'm someone, if I'm going to invest money on something, I'm always going to look at like the reviews, but reviews are tricky. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I do for work, but we had a product, our company had a product that we decide, well, not we, but they decided to make for people that were cheap. It was super cheap. And it was super awful.
People working on a budget.
Yeah, this was awful. Like, this product was, for what it was gross. And it was our number one ranked product. It was the best reviews were from this item.
Well, everything, it's all about the eye of the beholder.
Right. But it's like, I knew it sucked. I knew compared to the expensive version of it, it sucked. You know, so it's like, why did it get like review number one? But then I've like just trying to investigate this whole thing. It's like Mercedes-Benz will never win. What's that thing that
I don't know.
that fucking Chevy wins all the time?
Yeah, I don't know.
The best
Car of the year.
No. It's JP Morgan.
Yeah.
Like they'll never win those awards. Where, you know, Chevy just fucking rakes them in. Is a Mercedes-Benz worse than a Chevy? No. But I think the expectation when you spend X amount of dollars is you're like, well, this car should be able to fly, or like, you know, it should be able to cure cancer. Where people think, you know, I guess people think like more of like a bargain.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the counterpoint to that is, if I don't need to spend that extra money, if this car I'm driving even if it's a fucking $500 1989 88 Olds Royale, if this fits the needs that I want,
right?
That's my first car ever, by the way. If this fits my needs, then like, yeah, of course I'm satisfied with it. I paid this is the dollar amount I'm willing to allocate towards it, and it serves the purpose that I need. Then why do I need to spend the 50,000?
But see that, so to that point, I'm okay with. It's the people that necessarily don't have a budget or don't have an issue. They're just trying to find a cheap way out.
Sure.
But then have the expectation that this is going to be great. That's my problem.
Yeah, of course. That's everyone. Not everyone. Most people usually don't want to pay extra for something, and then you have to hear about it.
Right. I know, like, computers are up there, and especially computers, because a lot of people, I don't think, really understand what goes inside a computer. I noticed that one of the, like, a cheap version, not a cheap version, but a way to save money but not lose on quality is to build your own computer. I don't know how to build it, but I know how to build it on a website. So I went to a company that basically you just pick what you want inside your computer versus buying like a Dell or like an HP or whatever. And it was the best computer I've ever had. You know, the computer, by the way, was not cheap, but I know that the stuff I'm putting inside of it was good. So it has ended up.
That's kind of like how people purchase computers. I mean, it's it's almost like cable still alive because old people want. The only reason, like, it's not build your own computer because there's still old people that just want to buy a computer.
Or just, you know, I guess, I mean, I could see it being very overwhelming. I mean, it was overwhelming to me. It took me a year to be like, okay, is this a good graphics card? Is this, you know...
and they're always just updated. That's the other thing.
Oh, yeah. It's like cell phones. It's like every year it's just a new...
Yeah, I guess. Cell phones at this point are like Call of Duty or Madden. It's the same thing every year with a couple extra bells and whistles. But with that said, I guess computers probably are. I haven't got a computer in like a decade.
Yeah.
I use an iPad. That's my browser, and I don't play games or. That's the only reason I would get a computer, is a gaming computer. Like,
Right.
in which I've thought about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, because here's the thing, like you go to Walmart and buy an HP and it's like $200 and you're like, oh wow, it's $200, it's so cheap. But then like if you read what's in it, if you don't know anything about computers and laptops and stuff like that,
Digital typewriter, that's what that is.
yeah, you think you got a deal. But then when you find out that it's because it doesn't have a Intel processor, to a lot of people, you're like, I don't know what the fuck that is, But Intel is one of the faster, better processors out there. So then when your Centrium or whatever the fuck they use in there is like slow and laggy, you're like, well, that's why. But then again, if you don't need that, but I think just people
you just need something to print out recipes.
Right. Right. If you did that, you might as well use your phone at this time. Speaking of phones, where do you think phones are going to be in 10 years?
I really haven't. I don't know. I really haven't seen much of a advancement over the past like decade. Really, like there's been slight upgrades, but compared to if you go like,
I mean, the biggest upgrade has been like cameras.
Yeah. If you go, that's really the only innovation. I shouldn't say the only one, but the most important one. That the fact that like at this point I'm walking around with an HD camera, but like if you go from 2000, 2010, and 2010 to 2020, the gap is dropped quite a bit. But I don't fucking know.
Like
it hasn't even crossed my mind what they.
Because we went from big ass cell phones to small ones, and then became like try to make
I remember the joke used to be there. Look at the
the tiny, the tiniest phone. Then they started going big again, to the point where, and I was like who wants like the iPhone Max, or is that what it's called? What's like the big version of it?
I think it's like just XS or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
For Samsung was like the Notepad or whatever. I don't know.
I've been out the game for a minute.
But like I went because you have like the smaller one.
Yeah, I have the iPhone 8.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I thought I was always going to keep this until I had this, and I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
so much better. And then
I'd actually go a little smaller.
See,
I like the iPhone 5 is my favorite phone. Like I just remember, and maybe that was my first iPhone. I just thought like it was just like it was perfect.
I had the 4S was my first iPhone, and I fucking loved it. But I know that what this one could do just outshines the 4S. But I wonder where it's going to be in like 10 years from now.
I don't like the way like the iPhone 5 just fit my pocket just so nice.
Yeah, not as nice as the Razr did though.
I never had a Razr.
Oh, the Razr! Whoo! God damn, that thing was. I mean, I won't trade it for my iPhone, but
I'm also, as I get older, there's just less things I care. Like 5 years ago, I wanted all the bells and whistles on my phone. Now I just really all I care about is like storage for photos to take pictures of my adorable son, and like just a better camera to do such. I don't really use a whole lot of apps anymore. Like I use the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the Twitter. Like I use the standard ones, but you can fucking run those on anything,
Right.
I really just care about storage. I guess
I do email a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That's the number one thing that eats up my storage is my email.
Yeah, and then PDFs and stuff like that.
Yeah, but again, that's probably all standard stuff at this point.
I've always thought about this, like the shit that it comes across TikTok every once in a while, but like things your phone does that you didn't know about. Like I'm sure we only use 5% of what this phone's capable of.
I remember when I learned there's a level on my phone. I'm like, it's a game changer, and just like I was hanging a shelf the other day at home. That's another thing I liked about the iPhone 5 though. It had a nice solid edge for a level. This one, like, it's curved anyway. But anyway, I was able to use my level and hang the shelf. I was able to prop it against the back of it. I'm like, oh, this is a perfect level.
Yep. Did you know it had a ruler or like a measuring thing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure it has so many things that we don't even know about. That it's like missed opportunities, I guess. But I kind of want to skip 10 years or 15 years, however long it's going to take to see what's the new thing. Because yes, I agree.
Probably, I would say gaming. Like I would almost. I mean that. So
is it going to be kind of like a Nintendo Switch in your hands?
Yeah. So that's basically, now I think about it. Microsoft. When was E3? A couple months ago. Their big pitch was like they had I can't think of what it's called, what their cloud gaming service is called, but essentially, yeah, like the controller would mount to your phone and you play it like a Switch.
Yeah. I mean, but that would only hit like a specific demographic in a way.
A vastly growing demographic. Yeah,
Yeah,
as
that's a
far
good point.
I don't I mean a demographic that like is glued to these things
Right.
now. I that's and again, it's something I'm interested in is gaming,
Right.
so I know about that. The other innovations they have, I don't know.
Yeah, and
More waterproofing.
most people, especially in this generation, are going to grow up to be gamers and continue. Not to the point of like maybe say you and I, but it's like my dad would be like, all these games. Yeah, well, you didn't have games growing up. You know, we do, and the games nowadays are fucking ridiculous compared to the shit that was around 30 years ago. There's always those things I see on Instagram, like back in the day when we thought these graphics were cool, and that shit looks like what Minecraft looks like now. And we were like, oh shit, you can really see the goatee on Stone Cold, you know? Where now you can see like the fucking hair follicles and the sweat beaming down his forehead.
To not turn this into a game. It's kind of funny to think about how like, but back then, I think like the late 90s, early 2000s when games started like kind of blowing up as far as like graphic, like just the hardware used it. Like graphics used to always just be so important, and I'm like I've taken like a step back on it. Like I saw, you know, like the meme of the guy who's at the very bottom of the not the totem pole, but the metal stand. He's popping off the champagne or whatever, and he is just some bald guy. He looks like the character from Bully, but he's like popping off a champagne, and he's like at the very bottom of the metal stand. He's like in 80th place or something.
Yeah.
I saw someone put like.
Oh, I saw that.
It was like storyline, gameplay, and the very bottom graphics. I'm like, yeah, I mean, at this point, that's kind of like everything's like Fortnite's probably a good example. The graphics aren't amazing, but like the gameplay, the plot, what have you, whatever the whatever grabs people, it's not the graphics, but they're still good. They're a million times better than anything 20 years ago.
Right.
But like, it's just kind of hard to have poor graphics. Like it at this point, like it doesn't have to be too authentic. The gameplay and plot storyline no different than like usually a thing while watching television thing that people get a little contentious with is maybe a character not looking the way they wanted, but if like they play the character properly, that's all I kind of care about now. And they tell a story properly, they give me something to get invested in. But 10 years ago, if like that doesn't look like Superman. Like as a like that'd be the most important thing to me. Like I remember this a couple of years ago in our Voxer chain with our buddies. I'm trying to think. I can't think of the actor we're talking about. Like who should play so and so, and everyone kept posting photos of what they think the guy should look like. I'm like, why is it who fucking, especially with like special effects and shit when it comes to superhero movies, who fucking cares what he looks like, just if he plays the part right.
Graphics is one of those things, speaking of like cell phones, where it's like it's gotten to a point where it's like they're so better than they used to be that they've kind of hit a wall where they can't get even, like the next step would be almost like real.
And I don't know if that's,
I mean, you're starting to see it in movies a little bit. Like, for example, that one with De Niro and Al Pacino. It was like the Netflix one.
Yeah, but that's I can't think of it. The gangster one, or whatever, with the Scorsese,
which was a little overrated.
Yeah, I still have. It's just too long for me. It's like almost 4 hours. I'm like, I just can't. I can't do that. I'm gonna lose. I don't have the intention span for this. I need like.
And it was like I said. If you're going in thinking it's going to be like this Godfather, it's not.
Going into like the debate we've had, Nate loves longer movies. I'm the opposite. I was like, short, tell me a good story in an hour and a half.
Yeah. I'm cool with long movies so long as you keep...
It's hard, though. That's what my point is. It's hard to keep it's hard to... Even like Endgame. Think about Endgame. I thought I saw it Flash. It's too long. It's too long. Like I always just skip to like the final fight, or I'd rather watch Infinity War.
Got it. But yeah, I mean, games are like at that point now where it's just like the graphics are too good, but some have a little better than others. I've been playing Ghost Recon lately, and it's kind of took me a little bit like, oh wow, because there was like not so much of an execution, but I went to sneak up behind someone and hit him with the back of my gun, right? And he turns around. Apparently, when you still hit the melee, then because you saw him, now you got to kill him. The guy puts him like he's going to put him in a DDT, pulls out a knife, and just shanks him in the side like 8 times in a row. Boom, boom, boom. And you see like the blood squirt out. And then he goes like this, and he just slits his throat,
well,
and you hear him go.
Yeah, I mean, the first 8 were under. You're just wasting energy.
Yeah, but I was like, whoa.
It's a lot
like,
harder to put a knife into someone than you think.
Yeah, but it was a little intense, and I think it's gonna get even more intense the more realistic the characters look, because you're like, I just killed the person.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe there's a case study to do that might eliminate more violence then, because people have somewhere to like, release that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's graphics. It's just something with bad graphics can ruin a game. And for sure, if the graphics are better, like certain attention to detail, like I just being really particular with detail matters to me, especially in movies. I like to pay attention to like someone who's really thought out the whole scenery, things of that nature. It definitely can also, it can be the cherry on top. I just don't like, I think of that meme, like with the graphics being on the bottom, it's just not a core piece. It almost feels like a standard piece at this point. I'd much rather play a game that's fun, that looks pretty, than a game that sucks. Sorry, a game that's fun that doesn't look so pretty, opposed to a game that sucks, but oh wow, look how pretty this is.
Yeah.
There's definitely like visual and even audio. There's certain audio things that like can just tell a better story.
Yeah. I like World War II. Call of Duty World War II. I thought
you were just specifically supporting
World War II. No, World War II was a great time.
Yeah.
It had really good audio where you could hear, like, even in multiplayer, hear like bullets when they like ricochet. It does bring in, but it's not the total package.
Sure.
Obviously, the game at the end sucked. Where it depends. You could sacrifice sometimes, a little graphic if it like graphics, not like a graphic content. If it's good, like they were joking around about how like in Battlefield you can shoot a tire. Actually, you can in Ghost Recon too, and it goes psst, and you can't do that in COD. Is that gonna fucking make or break the game? No.
They must really hate when you shoot a basketball and it like flies around.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah. I mean, and occasionally there's a glitch. Like the other day, I sniped a guy in the back of the head. I didn't snipe him. I had a pistol up close and went. I was going up the staircase and go, pew! And the dude, it's like he got sweet chin music, but in the back of the head, and it was The Rock. He like did the flip over the thing, and I was like, whoa, what did I hit this guy with?
One of my, I remember when GoldenEye came out, and speaking of like graphics that you thought were wild, and then you go back and you're like, oh my god, like I feel like I'm gonna puke like watching this, like I'm getting dizzy. But I remember the characters that always die in such a hilarious manner. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm like, and then I watched the movie, and that's exactly. I'm like, oh man, movies have gotten much better. Little details like that'd be shot, and they're just like, there's like tumble down the steps and some shit.
I mean, I think those characters in that game didn't even have eyes. It was just like a darker shade.
Yeah, that's
like
probably true.
It was like a what they try to make a circle, but it was like just. Whatever an octagon is in 3D times 15 more little angles put together.
And so I used to play a lot of like role playing games when I was like when I was younger. Like Final Fantasy was like my game, and those games are much more heavy on like you don't do, like the combat is like it's like a card game basically. Like you hit X to attack, and it rolls. It's basically like Dungeons and Dragons, but just a video game.
Right.
So like there's not like there's not exactly a skill set to be good at it. It's just more of it's almost like a game of chess, if you will. So like the graphics matter so much more. You're almost watching everything. Like I hit X to do like I interact the action, but I'm not like pulling like drawing sights up and shooting something.
Right. Speaking of things going forward, I think we've been talking about maybe discussing this once. I can't get into new music, as I used to in the past.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that an age thing?
I think it's 100% an age thing. I think just like ultimately, I'm the same. Like, there's some music like so. I like Drake's new album. Hate Kanye's. Awful.
I haven't listened to either one of them. Yeah.
Drake's isn't amazing, but Kanye's is so bad. I don't care. Like, I've heard it. I listened to it twice now. I'm good. But those are also example of like kind of musicians that like I listened to a decade ago. Like I didn't get the new Lil Nas X album, you know. Yeah. But there'll be a song here or there that I hear comes out that I don't mind. There's this one song that I've seen like they used to make fun of on TikTok. I'm trying to think. It sounds like a very like mid 2000s to 2010 songs. I don't want to sing it, but I feel like I can't think of the name of the song. Damn it! I wish my wife was here because it reminds me of a Paramount song, Paramore song, but I can't think of who sings it. But like the hook, the chorus is just clearly like that's what inspired it. So I'm like, okay, I dig this. Feels like my music, but like pretty much like the mid 90s to like to the mid 2000s, the most impressionable time in my life. So a lot of that music I listen to, but it takes a step further. Like, I like a lot of like soul music. I like a lot of Motown, I should say. Like my dad used to listen to Temptations a lot, Sam Cooke. Like those are some of my favorite musicians because at a very impressionable time in my life, I would hear that music a lot.
So I mentioned age as being a big factor because my other theory is it because we have the ability, you know, I mean, 20 years ago we used to have CDs in the car, but you could only put like a certain, you got lucky if you got more than 15 songs.
Yeah.
So, but now we literally can listen to whatever we want.
You would step further. You had to invest yourself into that album. You couldn't just like you had to listen to the whole thing.
Right.
Like, I bought this. I'm listening front to back.
Or you would invest time in making a mixed CD where that wouldn't be like something you could do in 10 seconds. So you're just going to listen to that. So there was more opportunity for you to like turn on the radio. Where now, because I could literally listen to everything that I like, I don't have enough time in the day to listen to new music.
I've never really listened to the radio ever.
Never?
No, I'm not gonna say like I have. I've always usually listened to CDs in my car. Like
20 years ago.
Yep. I bought I had like the little cassette tape with like the wire connected. But I've always listened to like CDs in my car. I rarely listen to the radio. I actually probably started listening to radio more now. I think it's 103.4 because they play like rap from like the mid 2000s.
I think it's 104.3.
104. Okay, I just have it. It's the only station I have programmed in my car. I've just always I've just like so this is probably something that like maybe our generation accepts more. I love Limp Bizkit. Like I grew up on Limp Bizkit. I remember there's a time period that like, ooh, you can't like Limp Bizkit. You know what? Fuck it. I like Limp Bizkit. I like Korn. I like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC too. Like I realize TRL probably pushed me to what I liked.
MTV.
Yeah, so I liked popular music, but like I like Nelly, I like Ja Rule, I like DMX, I like Eminem. You know, I like Nickelback. Like I don't fucking care if you guys whatever. They can be all their music could sound the same. I don't mind it.
No, I don't care. I used to hate those people that refused to listen to anything that was popular. It's like, ugh.
I'm probably the opposite. I'm the guy who like listens to almost only anything. It takes me like, I very rarely have I heard a song and I like it instantly. It's very rarely happened. Or a CD. I've always had like, I always said I have to listen to a CD 3 times through before I finally like get into it. Rarely do I like find that song and I'm like, oh man, I fucking dig this song.
I can't get into new music. My wife does, but she's also so she's a teacher, so she hangs out with teenagers all day. So I guess, I mean, she doesn't do it intentionally to be hip, but
It's probably hard not to like
in class when they put like music on,
catch the earbug.
yeah, like they always want to hear like the new stuff. And listen, there's something you could say about music where if you listen to something over and over again, you might start liking it. A big example of that is the band Garbage. The album, I think, was Garbage 2.0. It was I was in high school, and my art teacher she always had this album playing. It just came out, so she was a big fan of the band. And now as an adult, like I heard that album so much, like I bought the album. Like I'm like, I mean, it's not a bad, it's not like a bad band or anything like that, but I know that if I would have accidentally come across a couple of their songs, I would have been like, nah. But because I heard it so many times that and that's why I think it's the difference, because I don't listen to the radio at all. So I don't listen to new music unless I go fetching for it. And then I hear it once and I'm like, I'd rather listen to the things that I know I used to like. I am the same way. I grew up listening to Magic 104.3, oldies classics. So I grew up listening to Elvis, Motown, the Beatles, the Monkees, like that's what I grew up on. It wasn't until, I'm trying to think what my first album was.
I can tell you what mine was.
I know it's one of the two. I know like the two that could possibly
You're
have
talking
been.
about CD?
Cassette.
Cassette. Okay,
Cassette.
sorry. I now remember what my first cassette was too.
So I went from that, and then the first like thing that I listened. Oh, I also listened to classical music. Back then, I played the piano. So I did listen to like symphonies and stuff like that from Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, etc. It wasn't until like
Can't relate to any of that.
like not eighth grade, like sixth, seventh grade, where I was kind of introduced to hip hop or / rap, and there was two cassettes that I bought. I don't remember which one I bought first. I know at one time I bought one because of one song, and the rest of the album was awful.
Cisco, Thong Song.
No.
Damn it.
No, way older.
Okay. MC Hammerlin or Vanilla Ice?
That was up there. I think that was my third one.
Okay.
And so I think it had to have been Snow.
Informer. Oh, Informer.
He's actually in a song now with Daddy Yankee, which he took the beat and then kind of like an Easter egg in the song. Mm-hmm. Informer does a line at the end. Well, not a line, but a verse. So it was either Snow Informer, which the album was called 12 Inches of Snow.
That's awesome.
The album was not good.
Yeah,
except that song.
Yeah, I don't know any song by him. But
and then the other one was.
So this is probably like late 80s?
No.
When you got these? This was late? Isn't Snow, isn't that from like 89?
No, it was 90s.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was.
And then Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Oh.
I think it was East 1999.
I don't know that. I just, again, I only know a few songs, but I never owned one of their.
Yeah.
They have 4 or 5 like the most iconic songs ever.
Well,
I should say ever.
One of them was in there, First of the Month.
Yeah.
And there's another one. Well, I guess East 1999, whatever.
My first cassette, which was probably like, it had to be, it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles soundtrack, which I think that came out like 89. That's what I was gonna say. My first CD was The Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff Greatest Hits and Space Jam, which Space Jam soundtrack is dope as fuck. I don't care what anyone says. Go back and listen to it. You're like, damn, I just found out. I'm not sure if you've listened to the Space Jam soundtrack, because that might have been...
I could look up what songs.
You might have been a little too old for that, or at least a little too old to admit that you like it.
I guess so. To put it into perspective, I am 5 years older than you.
4, I think.
4. Okay, so for example, you're big on Power Rangers. Mm-hmm. I was past that point where I was like, this is crap.
Which can never be too old for Power Rangers.
Which is the definition is called, I think, puberty. Like I was probably like I was definitely in high school at that time.
No way.
When did Power Rangers come out?
Like 90, 91.
Oh man.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
But you might have just been still like I was done with Power Rangers about a year later. It still had a very it was an impressionable part of my life. Anyway, there's a song on the album, Bugs Bunny raps it, and I just found out that Jay-Z wrote that.
Quad City DJs, R. Kelly.
Yeah,
I knew that one. D'Angelo's on here. Monica, Salt and Pepper. Or Peppa. All for One, R. Kelly again. The Spin Doctors. And here we go, Buggin' by Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, it was Ghost wrote by Jay-Z.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which I also found out he wrote Still Dre. Really? Yeah. So
interesting.
I mean, not a lot of people know Dr. Dre doesn't usually write his own lyrics.
No, well,
hell of a producer though.
Yeah, he's definitely. I mean, they even say that in or what was it? Ice Cube stick to producing.
Yeah.
After that, it was for sure MC Hammer.
See, I was a little too young for I know them but I think Sir Mix-a-Lot probably came out around that time.
Yep.
I was still I remember by the time I liked that song, it was it got big again when Big Butts got back in.
Yeah.
Once it got to the white man.
Yeah. Before, actually, in between that, I forgot to mention one. So I grew up with oldies. I also grew up vicious. My dad loved, and I loved, and it's a good. It's PG. I mean, I guess a lot of music back then was not as crazy as it is now, but I grew up to listening a ton of Michael Jackson.
Oh, I mean,
and then
my dad did not like Michael Jackson.
Other pop-ish type of music that would fall under Madonna, things that I guess were not hip hop and not metal was a big thing. But continuing, once I started to hit I guess hip hop, it was Informer, it was Bone Thugs, MC Hammer, which is more like pop, and then
Bumps and the Pumps. I mean,
well, that was after.
Yeah, he's trying to get some cred.
Yeah, no, this was a Too Legit to Quit album. Then the only people are gonna know this are people from my age group or higher. They literally grew up in the city of Chicago. Crucial Conflict. It was a Chicago-based hip-hop group. They had one hit song. I thought the album was actually not too bad, but they just never really caught air. They were at the Busta Rhymes concert I went to. I don't think it was the one that you went to, though. They were in the back because he was like, oh, shit, fucking Crucial Conflict's here. And then after that was Wu-Tang. And then it all kind of took off. Yeah, took off from their 36 chambers of Wu.
I don't know what I was going to say after all that. Rap is definitely back to Michael Jackson, actually. Probably I think it's a pretty, probably the worst kept secret. My favorite musician is Justin Timberlake. There's no Justin Timberlake without Michael Jackson. He's directly, absolutely 100% influenced by him. Not that he hasn't done 100 interviews saying that he is. It's very clearly in his music. However, I think you can also get his Memphis roots roots out of that. I would say maybe this is offensive to say. I would say Justin Timberlake, what he does is a little bit more I guess it's not as pop. It's popular music, but there is actual Memphis roots to it and such. He does try to he tries to jump across all different genres, if you will, but he obviously all centralizes around pop music that would never be popular without Michael Jackson. And just he's really. There's a few musicians. Elvis made rock and roll blow up. Not that it wasn't a thing before then, but he is you can. Probably doesn't go to where it goes without him. Right. Pop music probably doesn't go to where it goes without Michael Jackson. Right.
Even Michael Jackson's music that wasn't the hit singles, I guess. Mm-hmm. If you listen to his albums, they're good as fuck. They're so good. It really to say he's the greatest musician to live, I don't think it's that crazy. And I know
we're going down a road of like, listen, he doesn't play his own instruments and things like that.
It's
so
very
I know
subjective,
yes,
you know.
I'm not trying to.
And it's like singer versus
Yes.
band, you know, too.
And I guess he, if anything, maybe entertainer, the greatest
Yeah.
entertainer, if you will. And again, like you said, subjective, but he, man, does he got some fucking hits.
Yeah, and I always look at that in terms of like your stature is how many hits do you like. He has enough hits to make a double CD. Fucking, you know, Beatles are another one. Obviously, they're a group, but how many fucking endless singles do they have that it's just, you know, so fucking
Can't
good.
even if you like. I don't love the Beatles, but I know there's probably 20 songs in there that I'm like, okay,
That you know exactly.
I got at least bop. I at least like got a step to this, you know.
Yep.
What I guess of our generation, I personally think the greatest musician is Kanye West. I know, like, listen, he's fucking one of the most obnoxious human beings on this earth. And I know, again, it's subjective because he creates his own, like, he produces, he generally writes his own music. It's all created by him. But like he typically doesn't play an instrument. He uses a computer to create his noise. You know, that all that sound you hear isn't just a band. You know, so I get where like it kind of feels like it's cheating. He takes a lot of samples from other songs, but man, I feel like it's undeniable some of the music he puts out there, and more so. Probably about a decade ago. Again, impressionable time. I just said how I think his last album sucked. The previous one was all right, but he's kind of fallen off a little bit.
In terms of music, it's tough to stay on, like, not on top necessarily, but to stay relevant.
Even like even if you keep pumping out like awesome music, people are going to grow tired of it no matter what. Like, no matter what, like, eventually they're just going to get tired of seeing you.
And then people but it's like a double-edged sword because then when people change their style, then they say, oh, well, you sold out. I'm like, no, they just want to keep making money and keep changing with the times, which moves me into what I started looking at after Wu-Tang. I started to now look at rock and metal, Metallica, Korn, and then just I started to listen a lot to like Q101. So like even shit like Dave Matthews Band. I know that's not metal, but like I almost took a break from hip hop.
Bare Naked Ladies on that album
to like look at other things, Nine Inch Nails, Anthrax. Like I started to like, oh wow, so there's this other realm of music, and I became big on these Rage Against the Machine, Smashing Pumpkins. These were all like, you know, especially like in the 90s, were fucking big bands. And I mean, I still would listen to hip hop, but now I brought something else to the table. But going to the whole selling out thing, Metallica was, they went through a period where like a lot of their fans said, well, you sold out. And I remember there was like a scene where it was like an interview with Jason, their ex-bassist, who was like, oh yeah, we sell out every fucking seat in the arena where we go year after year after year. But
well, that kind of crosses like there's no one, like, especially with music, specifically music, there's probably a small minority, somewhat vocal sometimes. And even like the majority wants to, like, you went back to like you mentioned like you don't like the people that don't like popular music. Like a lot of people feel like they gotta be there on the ground floor when and then everyone. One of my favorite lines from The Office is when he's in the roller skate. He's like, play Dave Matthews, but only the deep cuts because Andy's that guy who wants to sing like. He's like, I like Dave Matthews, but I don't like all the popular music. Like everyone wants to be that guy to
the original.
I was there from the jump, and now I don't like the newer stuff because they sold out. I want them to go back. They're not hungry anymore, you know. Like
it's so And Metallica was accused of not being as metal, and I love their Load and Reload albums. Like it was like when they started like covering songs like Whiskey in a Jar. And stuff like that. Like it's still Metallica. It's just like a little slower. I think Slipknot, who's super heavy, had this because, for those that don't know, Corey Taylor, the lead singer of Slipknot, he also has another band called Stone Sour, and he does more singing there. And like, it doesn't always have to be screamo. Like, he's just diversifying, and I'm okay with it. Here's the thing: like, so long as it like sounds good, I'm cool with it. Yeah, there's songs that are like shit, but whatever. To each his own. But I don't consider that selling out. I think that's just going through the times. Linkin Park did the same thing, where they were more metal at first, and they became a little more like electronic. And then there were...
Remember when they did their collab with Jay-Z? Do kids nowadays know about that?
Yeah,
oh, man.
that shit was
the
banging,
Black Album. And
and then they did where it was mostly electronic and more singy type of stuff. Obviously, before Chester Bennington, killed himself. But I think every band, like if you're a band,
obviously,
or if you're a musician and you want to stay relevant past that first album, you're gonna have to change things around.
I mean, so like now we also, with how much music gets passed around through Spotify. So I get this. We had a break in between that I had to pee, and now the thoughts popping back in. Now that so, you mentioned the way music's consumed, and it's almost I can't imagine too many like. I remember like buying CDs and skipping to the songs I like. So for example, I own a Murphy Lee CD. Oh man, that's the worst album. That's the worst CD I ever bought in my entire life. But it had Shaky Tail Feather on it, and God, I can't think of the other one. What's a Hook Gonna Be? I love that song too. Anyway, the rest of the album's garbage, but I would fucking skip to it all the time.
Where now you don't have that problem.
Yeah, now it's even more curated. Now you're just like, oh, add to playlist. So they don't like invest in the music as much. But there's also so much problem. There's just such a wide variety of music of just people that you are never. It's just your neighbor can now post their music onto Spotify, and you can get it, and maybe it's awesome to you. Like you can now. There's just so much it's probably diluted with all the quality of music out there now. Yeah. There's like legitimate artists with chops that just maybe never got a shot because they weren't like marketable.
Yeah,
that you can find that music now, and it probably started. I know what the precursor to that was MySpace. I remember like people like that's what created Spotify and what's the other one. Pandora, and I assume Pandora you can upload your own music on at this point, but Spotify and SoundCloud are the two I think of as far as like making your own music or podcasts or what have you. But so it's kind of funny. I think now music more than ever, like especially like commercial music, I guess you'd call it, is more curated and more I guess auto-tuned, if you will. There's more writers for everyone, and now like they just market this one person, but there's also like there's this collection of music that we haven't even touched that's probably just like super authentic, and like I guess I get more into music now. Anything can draw my ear, whether it's like I like the way the song sounds, I want to dance to the song gets me amped to work out or whatever, or like you can like, or the expression of someone's art too. Like I get real into. Same thing that I've got like way with television as well, and even like video games to a point. Like seeing someone express their art, sometimes a really fucking cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I guess to continue my little trip to memory lane, after listening to being introduced to metal again, I didn't drop oldies, I didn't drop. Michael Jackson and all that. I just kept adding to it, hip hop, all that stuff. Then I listened to classic rock way later than, because at the time where classic rock was a big thing, I was listening to oldies because I was a kid. So it wasn't after being introduced to like the new rock and new metal where I decided to kind of I came across like classic rock, like your Led Zeppelin, like your that type of stuff. Like
Bon Jovi.
God, there's this Skid Row. God damn it.
The Who.
My
dad used to listen to The Who. I used to be a big fan of The Who.
So I got introduced to that where I was like, oh shit, like this fucks. And then it was like techno and clubby because I was kind of getting older. Mm-hmm. starting going to bars.
I never got into techno, but once it like made its transition to like EDM, I'm like, all right, I fucks with this.
Yeah, I mean, and there's songs.
And maybe that's because I was going to the club more when it had to be transitioned to like EDM, and maybe it also like, speaking of like Kanye West is probably one of the first rappers to kind of start introducing that to his music.
Yeah. And then that was it. And then I kind of just stopped there. Occasionally, I'll listen to something new. I mostly just go on Spotify, put on a song, or put on what I want to listen to, as in like genre. Like if I'm in a electronic phase or a techno or dance songs, I'll put that on. And occasionally I'll find something. I like this, but then every time I look, it's an old song. Like it's never anything new. And then Pandora, I think
once they learn your algorithm, it's a rap.
Yep. There's sometimes where I have to dislike a song that I like. I'm tired of hearing this shit.
I don't use Pandora anymore because I felt like I fucked up my algorithm too much. I'm like, now Spotify doesn't seem to do it as vicious, and usually because probably I just pick specific sounds. Like my probably favorite soundtrack, I guess to call it, is like, so the television show The OC came out in like 2002 to like 2006, something like that. All the music from that like show, like they collect it on first of all they like sold CDs back then, but now there's just a soundtrack out there that has it all collected. I fucking love it. One of my other favorite ones, MVP Baseball 2005. I found someone collected all those songs and made a soundtrack on Spotify, and I don't know, like I hear it and I feel like I'm like a teenager again.
Yeah. Speaking about being a teenager again, lately I've been in a 80s/90s dance.
Okay. Want to dance with somebody?
Well, that's more of a pop, but more like oh god, fucking can't think of it.
I mean, I consider pop like that. Yeah.
But it was like Real McCoy.
How's that? I guess I suppose it's not pop, but
But it's more.
I guess.
Rhythm is a dance.
Yeah, I guess it depends. I would dance. First of all, I'd dance to both. Whitney Houston, R.I.P. By the way.
Yeah.
You want to hear a really embarrassing story of one of my why Jadakiss is one of my favorite rappers of all time?
Jadakiss.
Yes.
Okay.
And it transitioned a little bit into like, I won't lie, some of it turned into trying to sound cool in front of my friends because he's not a very, I would imagine only one person listening to this, so the people I know that listen to this knows who the fuck Jadakiss is. Oh man, back when I was a teenager, you remember AOL chat rooms?
Yes.
I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm sure that's been, especially back then, I was a real big wrestling nerd.
Yeah, if you don't know this by now.
Yeah, I joined like like this wrestling like chat room. We'd go through a chat room. This guy would script his own wrestling matches and we'd do them virtually online. So like you would have to like type in like, I would have to like type in like armbar and like transitions to like the transitions to headlock and things like that. I was Edge, by the way. And I would have to cut my own promos.
So this was like Dungeons and Dragons, but wrestling.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I guess. And this guy, the guy who created the Federation, he had his what was the old website building? Geo? Is it Geo?
This is super nerdy, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's super. I feel like my face is really red telling this. Anyway, long story short, his character was Jadakiss. And I just ended up like, I'm like, Jadakiss? And like, he would use the N-word a lot on me. And I'm like, who is this? I don't know why I had to throw that in there. It made me very uncomfortable during that. I'm like, how do I respond to this? Anyway, I started listening to Jadakiss's music, started liking it. And then I just remember like my buddy Didi, who's a big like DMX fan. I remember this like yesterday. Him and his brother were like, we were sitting in their car, like, and we're just talking about who our favorite, like driving around, who our favorite rappers were. And I was like, and so Didi's about 5 or 6 years older than me. I'm probably like 14 at the time. And he's like, who's your favorite rapper? And I'm like, Jadakiss. And they're like, and they knew who Jadakiss was. Like, Jadakiss? I was like, Yeah, and at this point, he probably wasn't my favorite rapper. I did really like him. Eminem was probably my favorite rapper. But I just wanted to sound like, look at how like underground I am. Jadakiss is my favorite rapper. But I just basically learned who he was through some chat room that I pretended to be a wrestler in.
Going to your underground thing, someone that was apparent, like I thought he was more popular underground than he was when he became popular, and then when he became popular, everybody that was he's so good underground, he's gone to Hollywood. Twista.
See, I didn't know Twisted because he's a Chicago rapper.
Yeah.
I didn't really know him until I vaguely knew about him, but it really wasn't till the Jamie Foxx song. I really
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of the song, yeah, I never really liked him. That I've never been really into rappers that just rap really fast. I always felt like it was cheating. As I've gotten older, I've come around to it. And Busta Rhymes is a good. He's probably one of the only rappers that could like he would rap fast and like I would enjoy it. But I guess I remember when I was younger, I didn't like it because like one, I couldn't understand half the stuff he was saying, and it just kind of felt like it was cheating. I'm like, I don't know what he's saying. He's probably just saying a bunch of shit, but it's going with the beat. But Twista, I never really got all that into.
The
Lupe Fiasco.
The times I listen to new music, I just thought of this, is if it's new music that one of my favorites comes out.
Yeah, if Eminem releases something, I'll listen to it.
Whether it's Eminem, Busta Rhymes, I mean, it doesn't matter what genre. It could be, you know, like Metallica's last new album. I knew like there was a song that I really liked, and primarily because it actually sounded like some of their old shit.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Lars got rid of this fucking weird ass snare drum. You know, it has to be someone that I already follow for me to be like, let me take a peek at this.
Yeah, I'm pretty much. If something gets big enough that I might hear it, like
on TikTok.
Yeah,
like there's been like 5 songs I've downloaded because I keep hearing them in TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one where they always did like the people who they don't show them dying. We don't know if they're dead.
Oh no!
No, not that one. It was like the clubby one.
Oh, when they're on the casket.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a fucking.
Where that got to a point where I'm like, okay.
As the kids say, that slaps.
Yeah. That one with her name's Rose or something. There's a lot of songs that I've gotten from TikTok because I hear them so often. I'm like, okay, this fucks.
Like a damn sociopath. What I can't think. Ah, damn it. I just...
But it's listen and okay, I haven't given it a fair shot. You know, I can be here and be like, listen, I've tried listening to the new shit, but the times that I have tried, I just can't. Especially like hip hop, as in like new hip hop, not like you know a Kanye's album or Eminem. But I'm talking about like new artists. I just can't. I can't get into it. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I just like I listened to J. Cole's last CD, which I wouldn't call
he's not new. Yeah,
sure. Any new music, I don't really get. I don't really know what's like popular. It's just I'm completely isolated from that world for the most part, unless someone like you said, like I like someone notable that comes out with an album. It's gonna get back to me somehow. Someone. Eminem when he released Music to Be Murdered 2, like he just dropped it, like he didn't, which became like Beyonce made that kind of a thing, like the surprise drop. I remember my buddy Didi texting me that morning like, yo, hear Eminem's new CD? I'm like, I didn't know he had a new CD, and I went, it's all right. I didn't hate it. But like I liked Eminem when he was rapping about murdering his wife. Right. So like
Who's that one white rapper that died about 5 years
Mac
ago?
Miller.
Like, he was the end-all, be-all for that generation. Mm-hmm. I couldn't name one song. I don't think I ever...
Well, I
can't even think of a song I've ever listened to that's by him.
To be honest, I'm not... I mean... I think if you heard a few of them, you're like, by the way, he had his like 21st birthday party in the same suite that we had the Union Twins part.
Nice.
That's how Steve told me about it. He showed me the video. Anyway, I don't know. There's not too. I don't know if I can name a song that's come out. Like I just don't like. I hear it, like it just comes across my feed or everything. Like I just now that I don't put the CD in there, and I'm like, oh, what is number 6 now? Like I don't know the name of songs anymore. But I think there's a few in there by Mac Miller you'd like. He's a guy that definitely, I won't lie. Once he passed, I started like really getting into his music a little bit more because by listening to it, it did kind of like it added a little bit different meaning to it. But there's a few songs by him I liked, and then once they're gone and you go back and listen to music, you're like, man, that's kind of so fucked up. The stuff he said in there. It turns out the stuff he's singing and rapping about is true. He is a depressed individual. Now that he tried to kill himself.
So Linkin Park is tough to listen to now. When you read or hear the lyrics, it's like, oof. Like it was literally like you could make the point that all these albums were a cry for help.
I mean, I remember listening to Eminem all the time, all the times he rapped about basically being a drug addict, and then when he finally like checked into rehab, I was like, oh, so those weren't all jokes.
Yeah.
He was just rapping about his life in kind of a funny manner, like a self-deprecating manner.
Yeah, like that's tough to listen to now. Another person, oh God, who was his friend? Chris Cornell. Chris Cornell. Yeah. Like some of his songs, it's like it's tough. I'm trying to think. I had a point. Oh, is it back to why I can't get into new music? Is it also that we have just a certain amount of brain capacity to listen? Like, I have 50,000 songs. I can't do 50,001 because there's some songs. It's a nice thing I like about Pandora is when I do like specific genres where I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about this song. Where it's like maybe just my brain can't handle the amount of information it has, where it has to like either sacrifice some songs if I want to bring new ones in, or it's this seat's taken. Like
Yeah, I mean it's probably your relationship with music. I'm sure like if you talk to a musician, like if you sat down, with Dave Matthews. I don't know why that's the first fucking person that popped in my head. I don't know. He probably likes to hear newer. Like musicians probably appreciate each other's work, and they like to hear newer stuff and vice versa. So those of us who probably like try to create our own music and maybe just do it from just as a hobby. I play video games for a hobby. Some people just write music, not even to try to be famous or to share it. Some people write poetry,
Right.
like those people probably appreciate new artists. I like what I like and I'm good. Like I've never really been someone like I can't listen to this song anymore because I've heard it too much, unless it's a song I don't like. But I've never been like, oh, I just don't play that Eminem song anymore. I've heard it too. I like it. Like keep playing it, man. I don't give a fuck. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Did you ever hear that interview with Justin Timberlake about his encounter with Marilyn Manson?
I think so, but I don't remember it.
Where like Marilyn Manson
that's right. He's like, yo, listen, I actually kind of fucking like your shit.
But don't you fucking tell anybody.
Yeah.
There was actually I think it was in Chicago, in like the last bit of Q101. I could be wrong. But Corey Taylor, lead singer of Slipknot and Stone Sour, they were like, what's in your iPod? It was, by the way, old because it was iPod. They basically, he had to put his iPod on shuffle and whatever came up.
Wow.
And he had he had JT in there.
That's a little like, as much as I've never been one to be like embarrassed about the music I listen to. But it's still like, it's I don't know, it by presenting in that manner, you almost feel naked a little bit, like you're ripping this guard out, like, what are you judging? What do you think?
Especially if you're a lead singer of two metal bands.
Yeah, that's.
And he had JT on there. He had Madonna. I think he had Adele. But he had a good point. He's like, listen, man, fucking music is music. If you like it,
they probably hear it. They hear it a completely different way too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The little extra details they pick up and everything, I can't even relate to some of it.
Like, I'm not big on lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never been able to like
I'm the opposite. I've always been really into like the poetry of rap.
I can't. Like, I'm not good at like remembering lyrics. And there's lyrics that I listen to that I'm like, it could be about something fucked up, but I enjoy the jam so much that I don't really even listen to that.
So rap is my favorite music, and it's always been like the poetry of it. I had our buddy Chris. He loved the beats. I never really listen. You put a good song together all together, and I like it. But I always was just I just needed to know every different phrase, whether it be a lyric they're spitting out, just kind of bearing their soul, or if it's just a nice little fucking line they twisted together. I've just always cared about the lyrics so much more.
Yep. Metallica's One. It took me forever to find out that was about like war, like it's or specific side effects of war on a soldier, because the song was so badass. Like, I don't think I could commit to like one genre being my favorite, because every time I hear something that's a different genre that I like, I'm like, oh, that shit's good too. I call it like the top four, or like an even spread of 4 or 5, where it's metal, and by metal I'm not counting like Nickelback. That's rock to me.
Yeah, so, I didn't know they were even in the conversation.
No, so like metal to me is
Drowning Pool. I don't know. Are they? I don't know.
Korn, Metallica, Pantera, like that's metal to me. Then rock, so like your Nickelback, your Bush, Stone Sour, that's rock. So those two. I put hip hop and rap in the same category. Then dance and clubby. They
are the same thing, but like most, like hip hop's the nice way to say it.
Right, it's like
you say rap is like Soulja Boy.
Well, like rap to me was more like Bone Thugs, and hip hop was more like catchy shit like Still Dre.
See, I'm the opposite. I think I had always thought hip hop was more like the more art, the more
lyrical.
Yeah, lyrical. I guess I was trying to say like the more of an art, while rap was like your club hits that like you just throw out there. You hear, like, that's why I say Soulja Boy. Like he's had a few songs that like are catchy, but they're trash. But whatever. They're Yin Yang Twins. Yeah. There's Yin Yang Twins. There's no bit of content that's produced by them that you're like, this is some good shit. But it just makes you just want to fucking party.
Right. And then like techno, dance, electronic pop, that type of genre of all decades. So it's not just like strictly one. And then oldies. I'll put in Sam Cooke and Temptations, and it's definitely.
There's a shitload of oldies that I don't even know who the musician is. I'm just like, I can just picture my dad playing the song in our kitchen.
Exactly. I picture going to school, listening to fucking 104.3 back before there was like fucking 60 minutes of commercials. So I go through phases where sometimes I'm like, I just want to listen to one thing, and then sometimes I'm in a hip hop phase. Like right now, it's a tie between 80s 90s dance hits and 90s 2000 hip hop hits. So like 50.
Yep.
And
I just got out of DMX Pass recently. Right. It's been several months now, but like I was real into that, just cause like, man, it's speaking of him, it kind of reminds me. I've had arguments with people, like, nothing drives me more nuts than I hear someone say like rap nowadays isn't rap because it's like not gangster enough, and I'm like, what's your point? Like, you like, I know you, and you're a white suburban kid. There's no way you can relate to what DMX is rapping about compared to what Lil Nas X is rapping about. Like, it's like you can't relate to that anymore. Like, DMX made me feel like I could relate to it. Like, I felt like I could really feel his music. But like at the end of the day, I just think that's silly. Like, if you just need then whatever. Like, then shut the fuck up and just listen to your gangster rap and continue fucking drinking your Bud Lights on your porch.
Yeah, listen, you want to listen to gangster rap, you can fucking just go and type in Lil Durk, But I did what the reason I can't get into like the new mumble rap, if you will.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it.
It's definitely the mumble. It all sounds the same. It's all like the same. Like there's not one song that's like, oh, this shit's banging, like the beats, like the bass, you know, like Busta Rhymes is always notorious for having like crazy like bass, and it's like the same, like the Migos or whatever their fucking name is. Like it's just they all fucking sound the same.
I mean,
you know,
again, so I don't like it, but the only thing I push back to that is if you listen to like most music, each rap in from 2000 to 2005 pretty much all sound the same. No, everyone just whatever gets popular, everyone copies that style. Whether it's pop, I guess country probably follows. I don't really listen to country, so I can't comment. But
there's a few country songs I fuck with, and that's because I got dragged out to Country Thunder.
I'm not saying there aren't like "Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy." I don't know if that's the name of the song, but that song I fucking love.
I hate that song.
There's some there's a few country songs I like Chris Stapleton did a song with Justin Timberlake, so I now have a Chris Stapleton CD. I actually he did, if you've heard the song Tennessee Whiskey, which I'm sure you have. I'm sure it was played at, maybe he played at Country Thunder, I don't really know, but he's got a little soul to him though. I know there's other country songs I've heard that I don't mind. Just overall, I'm not real into it.
Right, I'm not gonna go chasing.
Yeah,
and, like look for new ones.
I listen, if I like it, I have no problem telling you about it. Like I don't really give a fuck whether it could use Soulja Boy. He is as commercial as a musician there is. If there's a Soulja Boy song I like for what reason or another, I don't fucking care if you care. Like if you don't, if
Kiss
you're
me through the phone.
Yeah, if you're annoyed that I like it, then get over yourself. Like,
right, and again, music is like it. If there's one thing that's more subjective than anything else, is music, because everyone has their own ears and will listen to things differently. Like I said, I don't listen to lyrics that much. Some people that are all about the lyrics might listen to a song that I don't fuck with because it's beat wise or melody wise sucks, but the lyrics hit them in a different spot. Cool, to each his own. I got Madonna in here. I got fucking Dave Matthews. Adele, like, I don't care. If I like it, I like it.
Yeah, and then and just because you don't like it doesn't mean they're bad either.
Right.
So, I remember getting me and my brother-in-law getting a dumb argument. He was saying Drake I don't care when it says he's a bad rapper. I'm like, what, he can be bad. Like he's undeniably successful. Like exactly. Ultimately at the end of the day, he wasn't like a one-hit wonder. Like I don't dislike Metallica. I don't love them. This isn't a great comparison because there is some Metallica songs I like. I'm not going out of my way to listen to them. They're undeniably one of the largest names in all of music. Right. Like there's no way. Beatles are a good example. Like it'd be dumb not to put them probably in the Mount Rushmore of music. But I don't have a song on my. I actually probably do. I just don't realize it. But I'm not like, oh fuck yeah, the Beatles. I'm so in love. But it's just the Rolling Stones, and then their influence going throughout, that there's still influence from those musicians now today. Right. Whether go back to Michael Jackson, who was probably influenced by the Beatles because he loved the Beatles. Yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty sure at one point he owned the Beatles music, or maybe it's the other way around. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Michael Jackson owns the rights to the Beatles. Actually, damn it, I don't know if this just popped in my head. I don't know if this is true. I remember when Eminem came out making fun of Michael Jackson on one of his songs. I read that Michael Jackson didn't obviously say anything about it. He just went and bought Eminem basically. He bought the rights to his music, so every time that song played, he got money for it, sort of thing. Wow. I'll have to look it up directly, but he's just I'm gonna buy your licensing rights, and now Eminem's still getting money, but he doesn't own those rights. No different than I don't know if you've heard. I know Taylor Swift is going through some she doesn't own the rights to most of her her music before 2015, something like that. So she had to just recently re-record all of her music in order to get paid for it, or to get royalties for it. But that's a slightly different situation. But I should probably look up that this is the Eminem thing. It was an article that I didn't click on. And it could be misinformation. I don't remember it exactly. It's something that I came across. I didn't really look too deep into it, so I don't want to misspeak. But if it is true, that is a fucking gangster move.
Oh, super. Going back to Metallica, like the whole super band, super musician or whatever, I never really knew what that was like, because I've gone to like Slipknot concert, Korn, Busta Rhymes, Method Man, like, you know, I've gone to concerts. When I went to Metallica concert, and this is Metallica now, not Metallica in their heyday, it was at Soldier Field, packed. I've never seen Soldier Field, I mean...
that happy.
So much cheering going on.
Yeah.
I've gone to see a band called Avenged Sevenfold when they're headlining.
Mm-hmm.
They were opening for Metallica. That's like, you know, it's kind of weak. Like, it's kind of hard to like fathom that. Soldier Field just sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Every seat, including the football field.
Sure.
Like the floor.
Yeah,
It's
they had extra
just
seats.
packed. And the floor was standing. And it
Mm-hmm.
was just a sea of people. And outside, SWAT team. Like M4s.
I'm sure, yeah.
Fucking lasers, lights out, like helmets. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, and that is like when you see like a super band like that. I remember seeing them in, there's a very famous YouTube video. Their first, I think it was their first live show in Russia. It's a sea of humans. I think there were over 1 million people. It was a sea and there was military helicopters, soldiers. It was just crazy. Like, my brain cannot comprehend that when I'm going to like see Busta Rhymes at the House of Blues, you know? But yeah, clearly I'm a big fan of Metallica. But yeah, I try again, like I said, to listen to some, you know, to new things. Would you say that this is like the lowest? Okay, so 60s, you know, 50s and 60s were kind of like rock and roll. 60s was like a transition to like more like a lot of war stuff, you know, like what was it, CCR or Clearwater, Creedence Clearwater Revival or whatever it's called.
Yeah, well.
Then 70s was more like, you know, still like
Disco.
Yeah, disco, but then you had like a lot of like your soul,
Mm-hmm.
You know, Temptation sort of thing. 80s, you know,
A lot
pop,
of cocaine.
You know, pop came out.
All about the cocaine.
Dance or techno-ish came out, and then it was the kind of like the birth of like the rock, you know, sort of like, you know, you could say like the end of the 70s too, with like Led Zeppelin and shit like that. But 80s was like just a lot of different genres came out that we still fucking listen to nowadays. 90s more, you know, again, like dance and pop continued, but then you incorporated rap.
Yeah.
And then 2000s was just kind of like a clusterfuck of all these
I
things.
think they started, yeah, all of a sudden everyone started like collaborating together.
Right. 2010 was or that decade was essentially like an ongoing of that, but where we're at right now, like 40 years from now, looking back, like, is this
how impressionable this period will be,
or lack thereof? Is this a like a low point in music, or is it our point to this whole discussion, anyways, that I just outgrew it?
That a lot of chew on there.
Because there's so many. Like,
I know this particular time, yeah, is just not as impressionable on me. I don't know if it's because the music's so poor. If there's maybe just not like the
something new out
yeah,
there.
there's there's not as much innovation. You know, there's just only so many places you can go. At this point, it's like pulling back from bringing more music from previous eras and such, and like adding. I mean, some of my like that Weekend song that played during the Super Bowl. I love that song because it reminds me of like an '80s. You know, I was convinced it was a sample of another.
Could be.
It wasn't. I looked it up. I'm like, I know it's this song, and I'm like, I played them both. I'm like, nope. I mean, what? I still don't believe whoever helped produce that. I don't believe they weren't influenced by it. But,
right.
I guess it's hard. I would say no. I suppose, yeah, I'd call it a low point with...
Because it's like decade to decade from like the 50s. I mean, you could take it back to 40s and 30s. You had like fucking Charlestons and shit like that.
I would guess...
Swing music, you know.
I try to think of like... My dad hated rap. And I know he like thought like 90s, like that era. Like, this is trash. What would he think compared to now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I assume he'd... I think at some point... You just decide music starts sucking, and it just all gets grouped together.
And then it's all shit after here.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's all shit in like all genres to me. Like I can't get into new rock. I can't get into new metal. Again, unless it's something that I already listened to from a previous artist. It's I can't grow in terms of music from 5 years ago. Like I can't get into it.
What's your favorite decade of music?
If I had to, probably the 90s.
I think I'd say the 80s. I'm trying to like look at it as subjectively as like just the like
shit that I listen to still now. I guess most of it.
That's what like.
Because 80s, obviously, you got a lot of Michael Jackson in there.
I probably listened to like the mid 90s to mid 2000s the most, but man. When I hear anything like any sort of like pop music specifically from the 80s, I'm just like, God damn, they had something here.
Yeah, I just think that there was more of a variety in the 90s because that's when like Korn, you know, Metallica, even though Metallica was from the 80s as well. But I'm talking about like stuff that I listen to now. If I were to if there was some sort of algorithm that told me how much music I listen to.
I think Spotify does it on every
per year.
Yeah,
you know, of like what decade? I think it has to be the 90s in terms of just diversity of
it's a good way to look at it.
You know, like even rap, you know, in the 90s, pop in the 90s, metal in the 90s, alternative in the 90s, like shit like Bare Naked Lady. Like there's just there's so many fucking Bush, so many things.
Huge Bush.
Alice in Chains. There's so many things to pick from in the 90s, where 80s was more like just pop.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, that's all I know. I just really like that. That I suppose that's my favorite era of pop.
Yeah.
I would ultimately probably agree with you. Somewhere split between the late 90s into early 2000s.
Yeah, probably like 95 to 205.
Yeah, exactly. It was probably would be where what I listened to the most. But specifically, I probably narrowed down to 2001, 2004 when I was in high school, because that's probably like. Again, that was when I tried to I consumed all the music I could. Now, like, I've been so far behind in music. Like, hearing Kanye and Drake's probably one of the first times I listened to an album. That's a lie. But, again, musicians we already know, I hear right away. But, like, if it's some guy that, like... I'm trying to think of when I first started listening to Lamar. Like, I probably didn't like. I'm trying to think what his CD was.
I wasn't really introduced to him. What's his last name?
It's Kendrick Lamar. Sorry,
Kendrick Lamar. Okay, right. Yeah. I wasn't really introduced to him until I listened to that Drake song. It was Drake and ASAP Rocky.
Who I always mix up with Travis Scott.
Yeah, you're right. And then Kendrick Lamar had like the last verse on that one, where I was like, okay, let me listen to this guy. And then
fucking problems. Anyway.
Yeah.
But like even J. Cole, I'm trying to think of like I really really like J. Cole, and I didn't really start listening to Cold World, and I probably didn't hear that until like a couple months after it'd been out. Even Chance the Rapper, he's a Chicago guy. Yeah. I love Chance the Rapper. I didn't really start listening to him till God damn, I can't even think of the name of the like pretty much his first CD. And I'm drawing a blank on it. I can't.
I don't listen to Chance
that's the problem is like I don't listen to CDs either. Anyway, I didn't start listening to him until he'd already kind of made a footprint. Like usually once they make a footprint, they finally get their algorithm gets to me. Unless it's like again Drake and Eminem. If Jay-Z came out with something tomorrow, I would that would be appointment listing for me. But that's because like I mean he's the greatest rapper to live, but he's just a musician, like no different. Like honestly, if go back to Limp Bizkit, if Limp Bizkit put out a CD tomorrow, and who knows, maybe they have, but they're just not popular enough to get back to me. I'm like, what's Limp Bizkit up to?
I think CDs were such an experience back then because you would like open it up, read through the thing, like they kind of had like a little booklet. Sometimes they had like.
First thing I'd always do is like I would have to like read the lyrics as the song. Like if they didn't have lyrics in it,
I'd
be
like, so pissed.
Oh my god,
I'm so pissed when they didn't have lyrics in there. But they had other stuff like pictures and shit.
Yeah.
It was like kind of like a little thing where we don't.
There's an art to that alone.
Like we don't care about that now because it's again we just buy the song that we like.
Yeah. Do they even? This is probably a dumb question. Do they make CDs anymore? I don't know. I assume they do.
They do.
I don't.
When's the last time you actually went to a store and looked for?
That's what I was thinking. I remember like seeing. I saw like Justin Timberlake's the 2020 Experience was on like vinyl, which I know that's kind of a catchy thing to do.
I've been meaning, by the way, to traverse that line.
I have my dad's old record player. I've been like, albums ain't cheap though. It's like
it's a collector's
it's like
thing.
$50. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna wait till my mom will find you at a garage sale.
That's I think that's the only reason why it's expensive. It's now it's almost like actually what I'm wearing right now, Champion gear. This shit used to be sold at Kmart.
For my son's birthday, it was last weekend, and someone got my son a Champion hoodie, and I pulled it out. I knew exactly what it was. My cousin's daughter is a teenager, and I'm like, I know that's who it is because Champion used to be like it. It was a completely different status symbol. It used to mean like, oh, you ain't got a whole lot, do you?
Right, you shop at Kmart.
But then like the rappers, the musicians who are popular now grew up on Champion, and now all of a sudden Drake wears a Champion hoodie in a music video, and everyone now Champion's $50.
Yeah, you imagine fucking investing in Champion back then? So for those that don't know what Kmart is, I'm sure you know what Walmart is.
There's only 110 stores left. I did a crossword puzzle today.
So Kmart is, like people sometimes joke around about Walmart. It's like only poor people go to Walmart, that type of stuff. They're like, there's people I know that refuse to go to Walmart because it's just the people that go there.
I mean, I'm Kmart. I will go there, but
Kmart was a tier down.
Yeah, Walmart used to be fancy.
Yeah, and that's what Kmart sold. And now Champion has their own stores. It's like $50 for a hoodie unless you get lucky and buy it on sale, like I did. And I'm all about not so much now because I don't work in a retail store that sells clothing. But I was always about trying to stay with the trend, and I like Champion because of that. So, but it's just crazy to me because it was like this shit was fucking cheap shit.
Yeah, no, it used to. Yeah, it used to, like, I never gave a fuck about it, but
it's like Star. You remember Star?
No,
I think it was Star.
I was thinking about. So I remember in like high school again to go back to like. I used to only wear like sweatpants and hoodies. That's it. And in like the early
uniforms.
But in the early 2000s, I remember like basically like people would think I'm a bum because like they're like it was not like a cool now like that's all kids fucking wear nowadays.
Fucking joggers and a hoodie.
That's what I'm wearing right now. Like I was ahead of the time.
Yeah.
I didn't start wearing jeans till probably like the late 2000s.
Well, I mean, don't they say about clothing that it goes back?
Oh, you can see the jorts are back in and you can see a lot of popular. Just look at the way kids dress. It looks like the early 2000s the early 90s. Like it's just like this faded like colors and everything.
Yeah, like fucking bleached. Jeans too. The holes in jeans went away for like maybe a decade, and then they've come back now, where it's like you could buy stuff with holes in it.
I was talking to my wife's cousin's graduation party. I was talking to the kids, and like they all had their hair dyed and everything, and like they had like I forget what is it called when you get pierced. Preamble, numble. I don't know, whatever. The nose. It looks like a fucking warthog. Anyway, and they were asking me like, "What do I think?" And I'm like, "What? It doesn't really bother me." I'm just like, I was letting them know, I'm like, no matter what you think is popular now, no matter how cool you think you look, a decade from now, you're gonna look back at it and
Septum.
septum.
When
Oh
you
man,
pierce
I was
your
way off.
septum.
Yeah. I was thinking about I don't know. Never mind.
It's better than being getting pierced in the rectum.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to each their own. But I was like, no matter what, you're gonna reflect on the. You're gonna see a photo of yourself at 30. You're gonna be 30 years old. And you're gonna look at a photo of yourself at 18 and be like, what the fuck was I thinking? It's just, it's impossible not to think that because trends shift.
Yep. Like now it's all about the skinny jeans. Before that, it was the.
I thought skinny jeans were out.
No, they're still there. Well, it's kind of.
I remember seeing a joke about like a millennial getting made fun of by Gen Zs for wearing like skinny jeans.
No, well, Gen Z's too busy fucking wearing joggers, which is essentially it's a sweatpant version of skinny jeans.
Yeah, I'm wearing sweat, and they're super comfortable, by the way.
Boot cut was a thing.
Oh, yeah, they look so
ago.
ridiculous. Now that used to be my thing. I'm like, oh my, those look like bell bottoms.
Well, now I think there's so much emphasis in showing off the shoe, which is why. Like that's not the reason skinny jeans came out, but it's like it's a good accident, and but that's definitely why joggers exist, is so you could show off the shoe. Like I have Jordans. I ended up buying a pair of like slim jeans that kind of like taper off at the end because when I ever do wear them, it looks weird if you're wearing Jordans with boot cut that go and cover the whole fucking thing. But yeah, so it's fashion does revolve. I'm sure we'll go back to like bell bottoms one day, and or those fucking crazy parachute pants like in the '90s. Just
I'd
because
appreciate that.
All it takes is like one thing to like pop off.
I need cargo shorts to come back. I got a whole closet full. I got like 6 of them, but I'm like, damn it, I gotta like
I still have a few.
My shorts game. I need like because usually it's either like I mean, I bought some jorts ironically, and now I'm like, oh, these are kind of popular again. Okay, maybe I'll wear them around here or there. But I pretty much just have like basketball shorts. That's it. I don't have like I have a couple nice shorts, if you will, but I can already see like those they're already fading. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna look like a fucking weirdo if I wear these. Something I want to get to before this is over. I just learned the other day, and it kind of applies to all industries. I learned. You know how video games used to only be sold on Tuesdays?
Yes.
Do you know why?
No.
They were afraid to compete with movies on Fridays.
Okay.
And then
I wish Call of Duty went back to Tuesdays because it's easier to get. In my industry, it's easier to get Tuesday off.
Sure. So then I can't remember what game got released on a Friday, and it did just fine. Actually, so CDs used to be sold on Tuesdays, and then Beyonce dropped an album on a Friday, and it did fine. And then so everyone started dropping albums on Friday. Now the big thing is to just drop it when surprise, here's and whatever, it's different now. That once they drop it, you can just download it right then and there. But the same thing happens. So video games, I assume that's the reason. Like, so I think like Destiny has like a weekly rotation on Tuesdays, Call of Duty's on Wednesdays. I wonder if that's just kind of a thread that they continue to follow. But I guess, and movie industries obviously declined, and even before the pandemic. But they used to always, same thing. So video games they used to shoot for a holiday season to be dropped. Same thing like music. It used to be like you had to drop the beginning of summer or the beginning of winter. Like those were the 2 points. They just, otherwise you didn't think you could maximize, it'd get lost in the shuffle. And then the Switch dropped, like the Switch came out in like spring. Like it used to be like, oh, everyone was afraid to drop any, especially not only a video game, but like an entire system. It's been the highest selling system ever since. So now like there's a lot of these old industry tropes that like were focused, obviously the Friday release because movies, it was all about Christmas and movies. Like you want to take advantage of Christmas, the holiday season, Black Friday specifically. And then you wanted to try to hide away from like, how could someone go see a movie and buy an album the same day? Yeah. So I thought that was it was interesting to learn that.
Just took a glimpse at your tattoo. Are you going to add to that?
I am actually.
Are you ultimately going to keep adding on your arm?
So yes and no.
Okay.
This one specifically, I want them to like first just clean. Like they never, from the get go, they never did a good job of filling that in. So I want them to fill in a little bit of that. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow up here.
Okay.
And then so I have my wife is due this coming October. So the tattoo he's referring to is a tattoo. It's a little bit of symbolism towards about my son, and I'm sure something I will connect to that child. I would love to have sleeves one day. I just need to be. I don't want to just be like, oh, I got like. Sometimes it's like we're past the stage of like. We got drunk and got matching tattoos, you know, like that. I want to, if we got matching tattoos, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. We got matching tattoos. We're kind of past that stage too. But I would like to have tattoos that mean something, but I need like, it's hard for me to commit to something that means something to me, you know, as far as and putting that like, and also have like that artistic vision to have put on my body.
I want a sleeve. I don't know if I want a sleeve on both arms or just one, probably just one. I just never. You need money, time, an idea, and a person, especially if you're going to do a full piece. And it's so impossible to get all four of those things at the same time, specifically the time one. But I do want to... my goal is to get a tattoo before, or at least start my sleeve before I'm 40, because I don't want people to be like, well, those midlife crisis. I've been wanting a tattoo for decades.
I think even at this age, I just assume it's midlife crisis.
Yeah, it's at this point. But I do have the vision, and I have a few people that I follow on Instagram from Chicago. That's the tough thing is a lot of these artists, the super good ones, are in like California and Vegas and shit like that. But
there's plenty of good ones.
Yeah, I've seen. There's a lot of people that have been on like the Inked show that are in Chicago, but I would rather have the same guy or woman do the whole sleeve so it flows. So I've been trying to find someone that could do the things that I kind of want. Like right off the bat, I want to sort of make it into like a Star Wars movie poster. You know, when they have like the villain and all that stuff. Where Sith Power, so basically a Darth looking or a Sith looking version of Jack Bauer. Is like the main character, and then like on the side, I want that. There's that poster.
I was really hoping you're going to be a picture of yourself. Am I going to get your face tattooed on your body? Because I would make fun of that forever.
And then like sort of like on the side, you see that poster of like Rey walking away with like her thing, and then the what's his name, BB-8, for my daughter. And then just kind of keep adding to that piece as it goes on.
Why don't you instead do the one of Anakin walking away, that's your daughter, and the shadow of yourself behind it, like Darth Vader? Anyway, that's a...
I got my idea. Yeah. You fix your idea. I got my idea. Or you come up with an idea. There you go.
That's the hard part.
It's like, again, like I'll go through that and I'll be like looking online, and then a year goes by. You know, it's like
a pandemic happened.
Well, you know, time goes by too fast. I was I bumped into one of my wife's former teammate when she played in college the other day, and I was like, you know, we're kind of catching up, and she was talking about how like she hasn't seen anyone, like she doesn't talk to anyone from college, and I was like, listen, that's just and you know, she has kids. I'm like,
it's life.
90% of the people at my wedding, that was the last time I saw them. And I was like, but it's not that I intentionally go out of my way. It's you know, you think about, okay, I'm gonna try to make a point to see this person, and then 5 years fucking go by.
Yeah, once you have a kid, like it just becomes a lot more complicated to get together with people.
Right. Well, and then the tough part is like when you actually do have a moment to just plop your ass down. Last thing you want to do is just, let's go and have a double date with this person, or let's go socialize, you know, with this person. It's just tough. It's like it's tough to put everything together. You know, it's like we all have like a core group, but then after that, there's just not enough time. Yeah,
I mean, and it's also like proximity as well. Like,
there's that too.
The people I usually see live within like a 30-mile radius of me, but like I still have friends that I had like I text with all the time, but or I might be a couple of years till I'll see them, and when I see them again, they took off right where we left off, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's part of being an adult. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to get together. And again, especially when you have like my number one priority is my son, you know, and I don't know, we don't know whether we're having a boy or a girl, but like my
I was actually
family
going to
is,
ask you, like, did you, or I was going to ask you the answer to that question that you just answered for me right now. So you don't know what you're having.
no. Just my number one priority is my family, my wife, my son, and my unborn child, you know. And
well,
then
it's tougher to also do things because if you want to do like adult things, you gotta now find a babysitter. You gotta come home at a specific time so you can relieve that person. Like there's just so much more involved.
Definitely time to see each other. But it's a small window.
Like it's gonna probably be easier. Well, this is a bad example because Vegas you could do in a weekend, and you could always leave the wives at home. But to do like an adult vacation, at this point it's
impossible.
Well, no, we're bringing the kids.
Well, yes, and then it's not an adult vacation.
Right, so it's not Vegas.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be more like Disney World or go visit Nate in Florida where the beach is there, where it's like kid friendly. Like it's like now it's the kids until they obviously grow up and.
With that said, like that's really the only vacation I'm interested in. Like Vegas sounds fun and I wouldn't mind going there for a weekend, but I really enjoy going on trips with like that. I love watching my son experience new things. I love watching how excited.
She's not my mother, no. Todd.
Yeah. It's distracting me.
What movie?
I don't fucking remember. American Pie. I don't know.
Terminator.
See, I don't.
Oh, it's like she's not my mother, Todd. That kid was so boom.
I enjoy seeing how excited my son gets experiencing things with his mother. Like, and I think about when we go to Tennessee and we see their family and just watching that whole.
So not to make this episode longer. That's when I went to Vegas. I think I wanted to go to Vegas. I'm not going to get into it. You know, obviously the details. Mm-hmm. My wife and I wanted to take a mental break of the things that we were going through. Not marital problems, okay? Other things. So fuck you.
Huge marital problem.
Don't jump to conclusions. Where we just wanted listen, we need this. Like, we need a escape. But last year when we went camping with my sister-in-laws, seeing my daughter have fun like that in a different environment is so cool. Mm-hmm. So because of that, we are planning on going, if things don't work out, wink wink, with what we're going through, we're going to go to Disney World. Because we wanted to go while we were in Vegas, we kind of realized, like, man, it feels like we're missing something. Obviously, you don't want to bring a kid to Vegas. And listen, I'm not judging those that do. It's just weird to see.
There's not a lot for the kid to do.
Well, there's that, and then it's just weird for kids to be walking down the strip and people handing out fucking prostitute cards, and then like the chicks, which I don't think you've experienced this yet, but after the time we went to Vegas after the shooting, so we've gone 3 times since the shooting. Jesus. Up and down the strips, there's girls with like stickers on their nips, and they just want to take pictures, and stuff like that. And they're all over the place. I don't want my kid to see that, especially my daughter. Okay,
this isn't helping the guys trip, by the way.
But we realized like it's not as fun because we're not with her.
Sure,
you know, and.
My birthday weekend, my son stayed at my in-laws for 2 days, and it was like literally like 2 hours in, I was like, kind of miss him right now. I enjoy not having the responsibility of having to tend to him, but like,
especially going somewhere. That's the thing.
It's my best friend.
Like, I want to go somewhere, because I hate camping. I don't, and we were staying in a not an RV, but like a what's it called?
Trailer.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I mean RV. I would call it just
a mobile home.
Yeah, I get an RV is what. But is it one that you have to like pull behind?
Yes.
So a trailer.
All right, so it's uncomfortable.
I guess a mobile home works too. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I don't find fun, even though I did find it.
I mean, it's cool that you stay in a mobile like that. It makes it 1,000 times better to me.
Yeah.
Because like I ain't fucking staying in no tent. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm a city boy.
Yeah. I found it fun at night to take pictures of the stars with the camera. Like, that was cool.
Yeah, a night of it sounds like a good time. Then let's get back to normal. I'll give you 36 hours. It's like Vegas.
And then drinking and stuff like that, obviously. But what I enjoyed the most was seeing how fucking just my daughter was nonstop playing. Obviously, she had her cousins there. She had a blast, and like as a parent, like that means so much more. Listen, winning $1,000 on the table, that's exciting too. But that's like that's
a million maybe. That's only thousands isn't enough.
That's only exciting for like a 2-minute period, right? Where this is all day. So it's like we want to go and like take her somewhere. Even like if we do get pregnant next year. We probably won't go to Disney World because that's a lot, but we'll probably go to like somewhere. Actually, I was kind of thinking like maybe go to fucking Clearwater, and then it'd be nice to just kind of kill two birds and swing by Nate.
That's. I mean, I really we've talked about this for. She has family in Tennessee, so it's kind of we can like stop there for a day or two, go down to Clearwater, come back, stop by another couple. Like we can take a half a day, get there, hang out with some family. Take another half day, get to Clearwater, hang out for 3 more days, come back half day, Clearwater, bam. And they're just not good. Like like you said, 2 birds with 1 stone. I just really would like to go to Florida, and my sister now lives in San Antonio, so there's like we plan to like
circle the country. Jesus.
Yeah, before the pandemic, we're like, all right, we'll go to San Antonio, and then like she has family in Colorado as well, which like Colorado really is like it's so beautiful there. Like it really is. Like I'd like to spend a little bit more time exploring that state.
So that's I think in like on the what I kind of want to do. Going back to like socializing and like hanging out with people that I haven't. I think a lot of it is also retail. I don't have weekends off. I work every weekend, and the weekends I take off are specifically for certain things. And even then, it's a high risk maneuver. Like I couldn't go to your son's birthday party. Like it wasn't in the cards. My goal now with my new job is to get to the point where I'm out of the store and I'm shooting for DM, right? Where if I had every weekend off, I probably would have more get-togethers, like just parties and stuff like that. It's just tough to do that now. Unless it's, again, your daughter's birthday, someone's birthday specifically. And I need to know months in advance. And even then, it's still, a high-risk thing. So
you definitely don't need to know months in advance. That's crazy.
I kind of
That's an exaggeration.
No,
I don't believe it one bit.
Not so much where I was. Now I do.
They need to know 8 weeks out at least.
Yeah, well, that's months.
Yeah, I know. Like that's
2
insane.
months.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. They need to know 8 weeks out.
Oh yeah,
that's insane.
Well, it just makes it easier because
that's another conversation.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through the details because it's just going to make this longer. But the sooner I know, obviously, the better chances of me being able to do something about it. But anyways, I think we're just going to end it there because I'm going to bring up more topics that are going to elongate this longer than it has to. So,
that's a fun word.
I know, because you can't help to think about a penis when you say it. Elongate.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and just.
And if you've that's the only toilet you can poop on because if you do a round one, your dick's in the water. So
yeah,
that's if you don't know the difference between an elongated toilet and a round bowl. You do the round bowl, your dick's in the toilet. Elongated, you're good.
There's a TikTok of this girl who goes like, I just thought of this. What do you guys do with your dick when you're sitting in the toilet? like do you hang it out?
Yeah.
Do you put it inside? Does it touch the water?
Yeah, it depends how shallow the water is.
And then the comments were amazing. This guy was like, oh, I usually wipe my ass with it. Anyways, Brad, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, hard.
And we'll see you next week.
I